It's been 10 years now this summer since Todd McClellan left the Broncos to pursue a head coaching job in the pro ranks. Tonight, his contributions will be remembered and upheld for all time. Todd was named head coach of the Broncos before the 94-95 campaign. After 2 years, he then added the general manager role. His first year as GM, named the WHL's Executive of the Year. Later, named Coach of the Year in his final season, the 99-2000 campaign, a 47-win season. His former players here knew he broke the mold when it came to a traditional coach. Andy Milne played and then coached with Todd.
One thing I think that I really liked about Todd was his ability to understand that as hockey players, we were people first and hockey players second. I mean, Todd always took the time to get to know you as an individual and as a person first. And I really respected the fact that he dealt with everybody differently, but he also understood that everybody needs to be dealt with differently.
Brad McEwen was his assistant coach for 2 years.
He's such a quality individual, and he's caring in his approach and the way he does his business. And he cares about the organization he works for. He cares about the people that work for him. He cares about his players.
A former Bronco captain, Chad Beagle.
Todd was the ultimate players coach in my mind. I know he left a lot of responsibility to us as the captains and also as the team overall. It made it really enjoyable for us, especially as captains.
Former Bronco Kurt Drummond.
He drew that line, which is a very tough thing, I think, for a coach. He was very close to a player's coach, but also he did know where to draw the line and command respect and, how to discipline guys. On a personal level, away from the rink or everything, he was, a person you could look up to like a father figure.
Former Bronco Scott Hinkleman.
Everybody liked him, and I'm sure that as a player we all liked him, but I'm sure the brass liked him too for those reasons, and that he knew how to get the most out of the guys, and when it was time to have fun, we had fun. When it was time to work, we worked.
In his time as coach, Todd had no problem being one of the guys on those long hauls out west. Chad Beagle.
The kind of stuff about him playing cards in the back of the bus with us on our trips down to the States, and those really stick out in your mind as the head coach and general manager coming back and just being one of the boys.
But Todd was quick to assert himself at his first year here as head coach. Chad Beagle remembers the story of Todd heading out to track down 3 of his veteran players who were out past curfew in a place perhaps they probably shouldn't have been.
The word got to him that they were there, and he come down there, and I think they were shooting pool, and I'm kind of wondering if he didn't grab a pool cue himself. I'll never forget this. A few of our 20-year-olds thought, they kind of push the limit a bit and just see what Todd was going to do about it. And I remember the 3 older guys, I think they went to one of the local establishments in town there, and it was pretty quick that Todd found out, kind of made a statement that he wasn't going to let the players get away with that kind of stuff. And those guys come to practice the next day with the orange jerseys and did a little extra work. And so he definitely put his foot down early and definitely had all our respect.
Another one of his captains here was Brent Twardick.
I remember one time, it was just a regular night, nobody went out, nobody was doing anything, and he walked in the dressing room, and there's me, Ben Andres, and Jakob Chuda standing there. And he goes, "So, did you guys happen to make it in last night on time?" Chuda goes, "No, actually, Todd, I was late by half an hour." And me and Benny and Todd all look at each other and kind of, start laughing, and I think Todd ended up flying him because he had to by default, but me and Benny just kind of had a chuckle about it. It's kind of a funny story.
And Andy Milne recalls an incident as well.
I can remember once at curfew, Todd had given us a midnight curfew for the players, and we were out having our fun, and somehow we convinced Chad Beagle that it would be beneficial for him to go to Todd's house at midnight and knock on the door and ask for a curfew extension. So I think that went down as one of the probably more awkward conversations between a captain and a coach in the history of the game. He knocked on his door at midnight and asked for a curfew extension. I don't think the conversation could be repeated.
After a couple years in the American Hockey League, Mike Babcock, head coach of the Detroit Red Wings, added him as an assistant coach.
I always say the puck falls around good players, winning falls around good coaches, and that was evident when Todd was in Detroit Current, when he was in Houston, and now in San Jose or even Detroit for that matter. So he's a real high-end coach, and he seems to get people to play real hard for him and have an organized team, and that's what you look for when you're a general manager looking for a coach.
They then added a Stanley Cup together 3 seasons later. And the two met just months ago as playoff opponents, with Todd the head coach of the San Jose Sharks.
Well, I mean, they beat us like a rented mule. They beat us 4-1, so good for him. In saying that, he's got himself off to a real good start as a head coach in the NHL, and I expect, we expected nothing less.
The NHL nominee for Coach of the Year and President's Cup trophy winner in the 08-09 season continues to grow as a coach. It's his time in Swift Current looking back where he perhaps made his biggest impact. Brad McEwen.
The time he spent there and the transition that he took the team kind of from one era into another, again, where he's gone, and I think it's a real worthy nomination and certainly deserving.
Scott Henkelman.
Well, I couldn't think of happening to a better guy. In my 4 years in Swift Current, Todd was the guy, and all players, I think, would echo those sentiments.
Andy Milne.
I think we all look back and thank Todd for his time and with us and the effort he put into coaching us.
Brent Tordick.
He's worked for everything he's got, and I was proud to have played for him.
Chad Beagle.
Well, there's not another man that I think that deserve it as much as Todd. You know, what he did for the organization and what he did for us players going through that organization. I couldn't be happier for him, and really excited to see him go in, and really excited to see him again.
And Mike Babcock.
Our careers had much the same paths, and obviously always had a ton of respect for him.
Todd McClellan, head coach, general manager, mentor, and tonight a member of the Swift Current Broncos Hall of Fame.